trying to make people think that crime is up when crime is down under Joe Biden and crime was up under Donald Trump. Now, I don't know how often that gets reported on this network, so if you're watching this at home, do yourself a favor and look up the data.
Well, we invite that.
Great. So if you look this up at home, you will know that crime went down under Biden and crime went up under Trump, and I think the violent crime for sure. So I think the really important thing to ask is, why would America want to go back to the higher crime that we experienced under Donald Trump?
Now, it's time for Stuck in the Middle radio show with Alan Edwards.
This is why I like Pete Buttigieg, because he goes out on other networks that's not necessarily left-leaning. He reaches at the people that should be hearing his message. I wish other politicians would do the same thing. We need to get out of our media bubbles. Pete definitely set the record straight and spoke facts on the Fox News Sunday show. Sometimes they very rarely hear. Here he laid out the truth about Donald Trump.
It's a national right to choose in this country, law of the land for 50 years, which the vast majority of Americans believed was the right thing to do. But Donald Trump made a promise when he was a candidate, one of the few promises he actually kept, by the way. You know, he didn't keep his promise of 6% economic growth. He didn't keep his promise to drain the swamp.
He did have a pandemic to deal with.
But even before the pandemic, even before the pandemic, America went into a manufacturing recession, which really hurt places like where I come from in the industrial Midwest. But anyway, my point is, he broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it. The Biden-Harris administration got it done. He even broke his promise to that January 6th mob when he said, I will be at your side when you march down to the Capitol. But he actually did keep two promises. He kept his promise to destroy the right to choose in this country, and he kept his promise on tax cuts for the rich. And if you want to know what a second Trump term would be like, I would start by looking at those rare promises that he actually managed to keep.
He did say that he wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, but again, send it to the states where they are hashing this out
empower the states to eliminate women's access to abortion. And also, as you know, the Republican Party continues to be interested in a national abortion ban.
Which he's disavowed completely.
Yeah, he's disavowed a lot of things. I don't believe him.
Love it, love it, love it. Here you'll see the Fox News host still on the narrative of Joe Biden's age. I guess somebody forgot to tell her about Biden no longer running. She left the door wide open for Pete to once again set the record straight and discuss how this is a new campaign with Donald Trump, now being the oldest, outdated, and just having a lot of mental issues.
Voters have said that they are much less worried about the mental acuity and the physical strength of President Trump. They see
compared to Biden or compared to Harris? I'm pretty sure voters are worried about the age and acuity of President Trump compared to Kamala Harris, who represents being a generation younger. And how could anybody not watch the stuff he's saying, the rambling on the trail, and not be just a little bit concerned?
Well, that is certainly one of her talking points, and one of yours now as her campaign too.
And something most Americans believe.
Well, but most Americans didn't have a worry about him the way that they did about President Biden.
Americans are worried about him in lots of ways, and he's not running against President Biden anymore. You can tell he desperately wants to be, but he's not.
Wow, this is getting really embarrassing, folks. Pete owns this interview. What's great about this is that he took advantage of this platform to share with the viewers what the facts really are and what's really going on. This is something that these viewers are not used to hearing. They're not used to hearing the truth about their great leader. Listen to this as Pete sets the record straight about what's really going on at the border and how it's the Republicans' fault why nothing is being done so far.
Talked Republicans out of their own bipartisan project because he didn't want the issue to get better. Remember, the worse things are at the border, the better things get for Donald Trump. So he has a vested interest in it remaining chaotic down there. I think this also helps to explain why he didn't exactly conclusively solve it when it was his turn. But I saw something else really important happening at the Republican National Convention on the border and the talk about immigration, which we all recognize is a problem, which is they tried to paint this narrative that if you live somewhere far from the border and immigration hasn't affected you personally, you need to think that immigration is a driver of crime. That was the real message. Immigration leads to crime.
Well, there are blue state governors and mayors who say every state is a border state now. That's Democrats.
Yeah, and now they're saying, but the false message of the RNC was that this is leading to an increase in crime.
Well,
and I think it's really important that we talk about
have
crime.
Been very high profile about people. If they had they not been in this country
cases,
illegally,
this is my
people
point,
would still
right?
be alive.
Trying to make people think that crime is up when crime is down under Joe Biden and crime was up under Donald Trump. Now, I don't know how often that gets reported on this network, so if you're watching this at home, do yourself a favor and look up the data.
Well, we invite that.
Great. So if you look this up at home, you will know that crime went down under Biden and crime went up under Trump, and I think the violent crime, for sure. So I think the really important thing to ask is, why would America want to go back to the higher crime that we experienced under Donald Trump?
Ouch!
You strut around like you own the place, but baby, you can't keep up with the pace. Moving in the wrong direction, all lost in your own reflection. Was hurt when you're so wrong. Ooh yeah, yeah. Live the life like a misguided song. You're tripping over what you thought was true. Now you got the blues. Oh baby, you do.